Hey, before we get into the details of the video, just figured I'd talk about the car a little bit. It's my 2016 2SS Camaro. I got it back in November of 2015, so it was one of the early builds. I did not order it. I actually found it at a dealership. It was sitting out front, and I had a 2009. I had a 2010 Camaro. I got it in 2009, but so I had a 5th gen. And when I saw this thing, I was just like, man, this thing's awesome. And I actually had the 6-cylinder 5th gen with a stick, but really wanted to go back to a V8. So this was similar color scheme to the one I had, so I was pretty pumped about it. You can see it's got like the black mosaic metallic, centered stripe there. Goes on the hood, up to the on the roof. Before and after the sunroof there. And then I actually, you probably saw I added a front splitter in the front. It was kind of like the 16 to 18 style front splitter, OEM style, but it's an aftermarket part. I got the LED side markers on it. But the real point of the video is to talk about my track setup. So the wheels and the tires that I'm using when I do my HPDE track days. So as you can see there, they're American Racing, and we'll get into the more details of exactly where I got them and what they are. And then I'm running the Firestone Firehawk Indy tires. So the first time I went out a couple years ago on a local track here where I live called Nelson Ledges. I'm in Cleveland area, so it's about a 25-30 minute drive. I already had the Extreme Contact DWS tires on the car, so I had gotten rid of the run flats. And I figured my first time out, probably not going to be that aggressive. You know, I'm working with an instructor, so I just went out with these, and honestly, they were great. I mean, towards the end of the day, start to push a little bit harder. On the corners and whatnot, you can start to feel their limits, but not bad for a first time out. But I knew after that first track day that I wanted a dedicated set of wheels and like high performance summer tires for the track. I've always used Tire Rack for tires, obviously wheels, brakes for my different vehicles. It's a great site. And a pretty good price, is really fast delivery. So a couple of years ago, I went on here and decided I was going to put together a tire and wheel package for the car. And so I already got it saved in here. And if I remember correctly, I mean this was one of the first options that came up. This American Racing AR924, and because I think by default, I guess it just says sort by featured. I probably sorted it by price, but these ones really caught my eye. And so you can click on it here. Well, here first, let's see how it looks on the car. So obviously you can do this. And I already had the black, OEM wheels, so kind of like that look. But these look pretty sharp on the car, I think. I got 2 different color options, but I wanted to stick with the black. Obviously, your track days you get a lot of brake dust, so either black or this actually might hide the brake dust pretty good too. The bronze type color, graphite silver, I guess they call it. So I kind of drill into the wheel here. Take a look at it close up. It's got a nice satin finish, so it looks pretty aggressive. Looks pretty cool, and I think. Back then when I was comparing, I think I compared the weight of the wheel to the factory wheel. So these were actually lighter, 23.45, 23.85 in the back, low pressure cast. So, seemed like a pretty good option. I don't remember the pricing when I bought them, but they were definitely cheaper than they are now. Everything's kind of gone up in price because of inflation, but seemed like a pretty reasonable deal, so I went ahead and added that to my package. And then what I really wanted was a high performance summer tire, so let's change the category here. performance. I'll click all the summer options. And I think I sorted it by, you know, lowest to highest price-wise. And I remember coming across these Firestones, Indy 500s, and again, you know, the prices were a little bit lower back then, but even still, they're still a reasonably priced tire. And they had a lot of good reviews, like 8.5 out of 10. A lot of, you know, it's consumer recommended. A lot of customer reviews on them that I read through, you know, for different high performance cars like Camaros and Mustangs and whatnot, Corvettes. And then obviously you can look at the tire rack tested performance. You know, all pretty high ratings. So it seemed like a pretty good option to go with. And then there's even a video that you guys can watch that compares these with some other high performance summer tires. So I went ahead and then added these to my added these to the package, and I think I did get some kind of, you know, mail-in gift card too back when I bought these a couple years ago. Definitely want to add the TPMS sensors. It's extra money, but it's worth it. You know, you want to keep track, especially when you're on the track. You want to be aware of your tire pressures and whatnot. So definitely do that. And then now you got everything in the cart. If you need a TPMS activation tool, you know, they have one for $45 that you can add to it. I had already had one, so I didn't need that. So I want to say that back when I did this package, it was definitely under $2,000 a couple years ago. It was, I want to say, around $1,800, something like that. But still, you know, it's still not terrible. Maybe compared to getting a set of, you know, 1LE wheels and tires and all that, that might be pricier. And then obviously Tire Rack will do the Hunter Road Force mounting and balancing for free, and I think the shipping was free, so it's a pretty good deal. So as you can see, I went with like the stock tire size. So the 245/40s in the front, 275/35s in the rear. You know, and that's worked out really well for the last couple of years doing track days and whatnot. But there was plenty of times I was going up against 1LEs and whatnot, and you could just tell the advantage that they had in the corners. So because I think the 1LE has a 285/30 in the front, and I think a 305/35 in the back, maybe. So definitely a lot wider footprint. You know, in the front really is what's important when you're on the track, is when you're doing the corners and whatnot. So what I didn't realize until the last few months is that these wheels that I have in my car, they're actually 20/9 in the front, and the factory OEM SS wheels are 20/8.5. And then in the back, these are 20/10.5, and the factory is 20/9.5. So, you know, I'm thinking to myself, I could definitely fit wider rubber on these things. And when I had these mounted, I always noticed that the rim stuck out kind of far. Definitely further than the tire, so I wasn't getting any of the, you know, that rim protection from the tire like I do on my other cars. And on my WS6 Firebirds, I have 17/9-inch wheels, and they're running 275/40s. So I know they can fit, you know. So I actually kind of started doing some research, looked on Camaro6.com to see if other people had 20/9 wheels and they were running 275s in the front, and I came across a couple examples and some pictures. So that's a pretty good resource if you guys are looking for that. Go to Camaro6.com, and then you can also go onto the tire page here, and if you go to the specs, and you can do view specs for all sizes. So if we scroll down towards the bottom here, so it shows you the stock sizes. So the 245/40s, 275/35s, and then it tells you here the size, the different size or the different width wheels you can fit the certain tires on, right? So, you know, the stock fronts 245/40s, you can fit it on an 8 up to a 9.5. You know, they tested it on an 8.5-inch wheel. So I'm thinking I could probably go at least 275 in the front. So like, what if I could move the tires in the back to the front? You know, and the tires in the back were in really good shape. They don't really get chewed up too bad on the track. So according to this, you can go 9 to 11. They measured it on a 9.5. I mean, 9.5 is probably ideal, but it'll fit on a 9. You know, and like again, I've got my Firebirds running 275s, and they're on a 9-inch. So the other thing to keep in mind is the diameter. You want to keep the diameter of the front, you know, the front setup really close to the rear setup. That way you don't mess with the StabiliTrak and traction control. So I'm thinking, okay, I can go 275/35 in the front. Those will fit according to this chart. And then, you know, what do I do for the back? So I want to look something close in diameter, hopefully a little bigger. I mean, I could have done 275/35s again in the back, and it just kind of matched everything up. But really, it's the fronts that get chewed up. So I'm just replacing the tires in the front, and I can't move the wheel. The wheels, the offsets and things like that are different with the wheels, so I can't really move the rear wheels to the front anyway. So I'm like, let's just try to get a little more meat in the back. So 295, I could do 295/30. It's 27 inches. Yeah, it's like a 1/2 inch variance. Maybe would have worked. But the 285/35s are definitely closer, only 0.3 apart, and it's the same, you know, sidewall height, 35/35, so I think it might look a little better. So that's what I went with. I actually ordered a 285/35 20 in, so that's what I had done. So we'll pull up some videos here, I'm not going to show you, but move the 275/35s to the front, and now I got 285/35s in the back, and I think it looks pretty good. So this is the rear, so this is the 285/35 20s. So a little more rubber than when I had the 275s in the back. Not going to be a huge difference, but it fits a little better. The rim isn't sticking out quite as much. You get a little more of the rubber lip sticking out, which is nice. You know, and every little bit of extra width is going to help on the track, I think. So I'll pause it here. It's still, you know, the rim sticks out maybe still a little bit, but it's way better than before. There was like a big gap, quite a big gap there with the 275s in the back. That's a pretty nice contact patch to have there in the rear now. And like with this track days, the 275s that I had on the rear, I probably did 12 track days with those, and they were like fine. I mean, great tread. You know, the edges were totally fine. So tons of life left in them to move them up into the front, which is nice. It's really just the front edges, really. All the cornering and turning on the track is what really gets chewed up, especially with a car this heavy. So you can see the extra width here with having the 275 compared to the 245. I don't know if you can really tell here, but it, like the channel here, you can see where it's like disappearing, you know, on the edge here. From this is, I think, 4 track days. And these are the 275s, still plenty of life left in them. This is just kind of showing the fit, I think, a little bit. So this is the passenger side front. Just looking, you know, just showing if there's any rubbing or not, but there's not. So it's fully turned to the left, and you can see I'm not hitting the suspension at all. Plenty of room. So no issues there. And I think I go over to the driver's side next. So still turned to the left, but not rubbing there, so you're fine on that side. And then again, take a look at the suspension. So this is a pretty good view here, but yeah, no, whoops, we'll go back. No issues there. I mean, they're maybe hard to tell, but there's probably like almost an inch of clearance there, so you're fine. Let's see what else. Yeah, there. That's a pretty good view there too. It's kind of hard to do it holding the camera and turning the wheel. And again, when you're on the track, like, so I'm turning it all the way. When you're on the track, you're never going to turn it all the way. So it looks a little bit like you can kind of see it smushed when I'm turning it all the way left. I think it probably needs a little bit of air too. But you're never going to turn the wheel that hard on the track, so you're never going to be putting that much pressure on the sidewall on the track. Here, just the interior of the car. So it's held up really nice. I mean, the car's almost 7 years old. It will be 7 years old in November. But you know, I think I only have 27,000 miles on it. I don't drive it a ton, but it's been an awesome car. I mean, probably 12, 13 track days on it. You know, drive it around in the warmer months, and everything's been working great. No issues. Love having like the heated seats, cold seats, heated wheel. You know, in the cool fall days if you take it out for a drive, or even in the spring when it's still kind of chilly. So that's really nice. Stainless Works exhaust. Stainless Works is close. It's about 20 minutes from where I live. So I got rid of that giant, you know, big, I don't know what you would even call it, the big rectangular exhaust that comes factory. I have the NPP, so I did want a system that would still incorporate the NPP, so you can change different modes. You can see it right here. You can take a look at it. So it's this Stainless Works exhaust still functions with the NPP, which is really cool. So I definitely wanted to maintain that. So my apologies, another super long-winded video, but hopefully a lot of good information for you guys that don't have a 1LE, that just have a 1SS or 2SS, not a 1LE, and looking for a better wheel and tire setup, you know, without breaking the bank, and especially something good that's going to work well for your HPDEs. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.